College football decided to make some rule changes. The NCAA came out and made some different changes for this upcoming season for Division One and Division Two, not Division Three. And there's some roster management stuff we need to talk about with Dabo Sweeney and the Clemson Tigers because it has picked up some steam. People are now hating on Dabo Sweeney any chance they get just because he's outspoken about his religion, about anything else. So we're going to discuss those things today. Hope everybody's doing well. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow and rate on Apple and iTunes. Leave a 5-star review if you can. Please and thank you. Helps grow the podcast, helps out the algorithm. Follow at Coach underscore Steve 72 on Twitter. Leave a comment in the comment section down below, of course, all the time. As long as we're not going to get personal in those comments, leave whatever comments you desire. And check out all the affiliates in the description below. We're going to continue to talk about college football because there's really no bad time to talk about college football, even if there's stuff that's not happening. We're going to talk about it. Let's talk about Dabo Sweeney and the Clemson Tigers. It came out Dabo was on being interviewed or some show, and he came out and said that basically that they are sitting at an 88 roster or scholarship roster, and in an NCAA you can only have 85. You can have 85 guys on scholarship, and they're sitting at 88. So he made a comment about having to take away walk-ons scholarships, and this just became this hate towards Dabo Sweeney. Well, you're a religious guy and you're going to take away walk-ons scholarships. How dare you? How dare you do this? You're a guy that preaches about this. Why doesn't the collective and taking the name, image, and likeness money pay for the college, which I think is going to happen eventually. Eventually, they're going to come whoever they make money from and say, hey, here's this money, go pay for college, which I don't think they're allowed to do. But again, if you are a walk-on, name, image, likeness starts paying you. I don't see it as a walk-on how you can be stopped to pay for college. But those things just started to come out of the woodwork because Dabo's been very outspoken against the transfer portal, against name, image, and likeness. He's been very outspoken with his religion. And so anytime somebody can come right after him, they're going to. Here's the thing. Scholarships are usually year by year basis, especially when you're a walk-on. We love seeing the videos when a walk-on player gets a scholarship. It's one of my favorite things ever. When you see a walk-on player eventually gets a scholarship. Okay. So when they get that scholarship, you break down. Like it's very emotional. You love to see it. You love to be around that. You love to just basically love to see it. But especially for walk-ons, it's year by year basis. When you sign that scholarship, there's things you have to do in order to maintain that scholarship, and it can be taken away. It can be taken away at any moment. Coaches have literally looked at kid. What do you think happens when they kick a kid off? There's some reason they can find, and they could sit there and say, "Well, we're gonna." You've heard the phrase, "They're going to rip it up in front of you." It can happen. They can take away that scholarship. So it's not. This is not something new. But what happened with Dabo Sweeney and staff, the COVID year stuff, is starting to come back and affect everything. And I'm sure that this is happening to a lot of teams. It just so happened that Dabo Sweeney made it a comment and it went viral. Other teams are probably keeping this to themselves. They probably don't announce it very much. You have to do some type of research to find this out. This is happening all over. And this was talked about when COVID happened. And the NCAA allowed these guys to continue to play football. You have guys that have been there for like 6 years, 6, 7 years. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. So when they're planning out ahead of time with their recruitment and they're offering these guys scholarships and everything else, and they show up and then they say, okay, we don't plan on these guys staying around. We're going to give these walk-on scholarships because these walk-ons could have just been last year. It could have been 2 years ago. They were walk-ons. They got the scholarship 2 years ago. Everything else. Dabo Sweeney, he basically said, we didn't anticipate 7 seniors coming back. I told Tyler Davis today, if you had told me this time last year I would be meeting with you again, I would have said, sign me up for that. All these different things you're talking about with Clemson. I started exit meetings a week ago or so, and I think I have about 120 or so that I have to get through. I've gotten through most. Sweeney said I've got about 40 more to do next week or so. That is why my days are consumed right now, just finding out where we are, what their plans are in the summer right now. So, you know, he it says something about not Clemson did not have a lot of players leave. They did not have a lot of players in the transfer portal that left Clemson, which says something about Dabo Sweeney and what they're kind of doing there. But it was just poor roster management at the end of the day. Now, is it all on Dabo Sweeney and staff? I mean, you could say yes, but ultimately no, because these coaches have to plan ahead years. Like they have to plan like 2 years ahead of time. Why do you think they're recruiting their butts off? Why do you think these coaches are getting so worn out? Because the transfer portal recruitment's getting crazy. This name, image, and likeness on top of it's getting crazy. The social media stuff's getting crazy. They have to stay way ahead of the curve. They have to look at the roster stuff, and then on top of it, the stuff that is there. Then you add the COVID stuff where these guys are just staying. They're just staying because now you got fifth, sixth, 7 year guys because if they were redshirted, if they were a graduate, then COVID happened and NCAA says, hey, we're going to add, get you another year. This is what they're going to do. So people wanted to really go after Dabo Sweeney. I guarantee you this is happening all over the country. So the hate that's happening here just shouldn't happen. And just, again, understand that they can't do quote unquote 4 year scholarships anymore because people have been sued before. Most scholarships are year by year basis. Year by year basis. Because if the player doesn't live up to the academic expectations, if they don't live up to certain things, they break rules, there has to be a way out. If you guarantee them a 4 year scholarship and something happens, they could probably plan to keep that 4 year scholarship. But if you make it year by year, that's it. That's what happens. So the hate towards this, we heard them just the phrase, oh, we're going to take walk-on player scholarships away. It gives a headline, gives something for Twitter, gives something to say, well, Dabo Sweeney says all this stuff because he's very outspoken about a lot of things. Fine. But just understand before you start talking about that these stuff is year by year basis. And especially if you're a walk-on. If you're a walk-on, it gets told to them, I'm sure, saying, hey, we're giving you a scholarship. It's going to take care of everything you need for this year. And then we'll revisit it next year. So if they gave them a scholarship in April of 2023, they're going to look right at that walk-on and say, but you've got to know that, April of 2024, we're going to come back and revisit this. The other thing that Dabo Sweeney could do is just look at these 5th, 6 years guys and say, you know what? Maybe some of these walk-ons are better. Maybe some of these guys are better. You take away your scholarship. Now, that probably won't happen because look at the way college sports is going. You want a lot of experience, especially when you're looking at college basketball. That's the type of stuff that things are going for. But a lot of hate coming towards Dabo Sweeney, and he doesn't deserve it. And, so we need to calm down and kind of like most things in life, we can have opinions, but we kind of need to understand if you want to give them hate, knowing that each school scholarship only about a 1 year basis, fine. But I guarantee a lot of people didn't know that. They don't understand how scholarships work, but that's what we're here to help explain to everybody. These scholarships are year to year basis. So yeah, the headline taken away from a walk-on stinks because those are the good feel stories, but scholarships are year by year basis. Unless NCAA just extends the scholarship thing and say, hey, you could have 88 instead of 85, that works. But I don't see them doing that because as we get to the rule changes, NCAA only cares about themselves, and that's just kind of where they are. Rule changes for college football. They came out, and we got some rule changes heading in only for Division I and Division II. Division III, made some pushback, so they decided that it's not going to go that route. So let's talk about rule changes. There was 3 rule changes. I'm sure there was a lot more, but it came out with these specific rule changes. The first rule that's going to be changed for college football is the game clock will no longer be stopped after first downs unless there is less than 2 minutes to play and a half. It changes the existing rule, which was in place, that stopped the clock after each first down was gained, regardless of wherever in the game it occurred. So in college football, any first down you get, it stops the clock to get the chain set. Stops the clock. Then the clock can start as soon as they get the chain set. NFL, that clock moves no matter what. So we're kind of heading towards the NFL style. So this means at the end of the first down, the clock's just going to roll. It's just going to roll. In addition, here's the second rule. In addition, teams will be prohibited from calling consecutive timeouts. This occurs more frequently when you're trying to ice the kicker. So if you got 3 timeouts or 2 timeouts at the end of a game, end of a half, kicker goes out there to call a timeout, you usually be able to call another timeout. So no longer can call consecutive timeouts. The last rule, there will be no untimed downs at the end of the first and third quarters if a penalty occurs on the final play of the frame. Instead, penalties will carry over and be enforced on the first play of the following quarter. So at the end of the first quarter, if a penalty happened, you always got one untimed down play. So if there was 2 seconds left, a holding call happens, pass interference, anything like that, they had a one untimed down, and they were able to do that. Now it's just going to be the end of the first quarter, they get a holding penalty, or some type of penalty, it's 15 yards. End of the half, we just pick up where they left off. So it's going to be 2nd and 25, 2nd and 15, whatever it is. That's going to go over. Now, if it's the end of the second quarter, end of the game, obviously you're not going to do that. They just ends, and you pick up from there. So let's talk about these rules. The consecutive timeout thing, I don't think is going to matter to a lot of people, because you could just ultimately, let's just talk about all the rules first. All of the rules first. They're just trying to speed up the game. You're seeing that trend with a lot of things. You're seeing that trend in NBA because they play up and down. They don't play defense. They want the game to go up and down. They want to score a lot of points. You're seeing that in baseball and Major League Baseball with the pitch clock. So now games have only been about 2.5 hours. College football, they're trying to speed the game up because you got 15-minute quarters or 12-minute quarters, and they are going to try to speed up the game. That's just what you're seeing. You're trying to speed up the game for the fans or for whoever. Me personally, yes, college football games are long, but they don't bother me. It doesn't bother me to sit there and watch a game. But they're just trying to speed everything up. But here's the kicker, before we talk about each individual one here. Are they speeding up the game for the game? Are they speeding up the game because it's what's best for college football? Because you notice it didn't cost money to change these rules. They still are going to get their commercial timeouts. And I know what the question's going to be. Well, if they take away the, extra timeout to go to a commercial, if a game is, 3 hours or so, does that take away from having more commercials? No, not really. It might take away the amount of commercials, but it's not going to take away their bottom dollar. They don't make decisions based on what's best for the game. They make decisions based on money. Why do you think these TV deal contracts get drug out for a while, and then you see big time money each and every year it goes up? They're not doing this because they want to be the best for the game. Maybe a small part of them are. Maybe a small part is, yeah, let's speed this game up. Let's, have the casual fan that they talk about being a 3-hour game or a 4-hour game. Yeah, the casual fan can think that. We're all kind of casual fans at some point. But ultimately, do you think that they really made this decision based on how good for the game it's going to be? No. You have to think about it. They're in the business of making money. And that's what they're doing. Changes into this game did not cost them any money. They're going to make the same amount of money that they made. Well, if you change the game and there's less commercial, no, they can charge more. They can make more money. It doesn't take away from that. They can make the commercials longer. You don't think that when something happens, they could just say, "Hey, random TV timeout"? You don't think that can happen? It will maximize their ad space. So if they sit there and say, "Hey, we have less time now. What are you going to pay to have these commercials put on there?" So it's not necessarily, sometimes less is more in this situation. So yes, maybe it's a good thing that the, untimed, play is gone. It just rolls into the next quarter. Maybe. But also now you drop this on these coaches. So now offensive coordinators, they plan their they have plans for how they're going to call things. So they know if they get a first down, the clock stops. To set the chains, they can do what they need to do, how they practice, and this has been a thing for years. Now you drop this now. So now, because they're looking at making money, because think about it. If you go from having, I'm just going to make up a number. You go from having 20 commercials or 20 slots, and it goes down to 12. You're going to look at all those people and say, "You really want a slot, don't you? Well, how much money are you going to pay to get that slot?" So they don't lose money out of this. That's just how the world works. That's how these people in business work. That's how people in TV work. That's how the NCAA is working. They want money. So this untimed down stuff wasn't necessarily the best thing for the game. I've heard people say they like it because now it's going to speed the game up a little bit. It puts more pressure on these college kids, in the game. If it's untimed first, if they get a first down, the clock continues to roll, and you're trying to score or you're trying to do something, you're going to have to figure it out. But now I've seen college coaches already go on Twitter, their offensive coordinators saying, "Thanks. Now I got to change the way that I coach and change the way I do things because you are looking to maximize on any type of money. Because you're going to look at this and say, okay, you're going to pay me this amount of money to have this, like a Super Bowl. You're going to pay me to have this much money, or you're going to pay me to have this slot for this commercial. What are you going to pay? And then you're going to push those other commercials out. So never think that these rule changes were made for the betterment of college football and the players. It's not. People looked at it and thought that, but if you actually think of the reasoning why, that's why. The NCAA don't care about anything else. It's been proven. I've said it before. They don't fully care about players. They don't fully care about these things. There's no leadership. Transfer portal's crazy. You don't really have leadership on all that stuff. You don't have leadership on the transfer stuff. You don't have leadership when it came to that type of stuff. They laughed when you wanted to pay players and say, "Okay, you wanted to pay players. You figure it out because we told you this stuff was going to happen. I want players to be paid, but there had to be a good way to go about it." Now that part's slowly getting there, but then the transfer portal stuff came crazy, and NCAA said, "We're laughing. We told you guys that this stuff was going to happen, and guess what? It's happening. You're getting what you wish for," because they don't care. Why would they care? They're making money. They don't care. They're making money. Why would they? As long as people watch the games on TV, as long as they're selling tickets, as long as people still continue to watch, and a lot of people do, as long as they get the primetime TV stuff, as long as they get all these sponsorships for their football playoff, as long as they're still getting money from the bowl games, and as long as they're still getting money from everything else, they don't care. They don't care. And does everything always need to be the same between NFL and college? No. Oh, but if they do it in college, it gets more benefits. That's the whole point. It's made to be tougher. There's stuff in college or in high school that they don't do in college. So when they get to college, you tell the kids, "Okay, this is how it was in high school. Now, how good are you going to be when you get to college or in high school? When you get to college, this is what's going to happen." Hey, you tell the college kid when you get to the NFL, this is what's going to happen. So these rule changes were not made for the betterment of the game. They were made for money because they didn't lose money. They want to make money. They're looking at making big time money in commercial deals, in sponsorships. That's all it is. It might be okay to speed the game up. I personally like how the clock stopped on first down. It's a game plan thing. It helps the defense out because it slows down a little bit. Um, you know, I don't know. I'm not too upset about the stuff. I just know the deep roots that is for them to make money, but ultimately it's going to speed the game up a little bit. I guess that's okay. I don't like the non-consistent, the fact that you can't take 2 timeouts in a row. Like, it's your timeouts. You should be able to do what you want with them. But college football is starting to turn into, like, we're gonna copy the NFL on a lot of things. You don't need to. You can be your own self. Keep a lot of that stuff the same. Like, in basketball, you can take consecutive timeouts. I've done it coaching. Like, it's your timeouts. You should be able to do what you want with them. That part I don't understand. But, the rule, it is what it is. But ultimately, never think that they're just doing this because they want to be, the best people they can be. The bottom line is this TV deal stuff has gotten crazy, and they are looking to capitalize for their TV deals to make the most money. That's what all these executives want. So just that's what is happening right now. Not that they care about speeding up the game, not that they care about this. They want to make money, and that's ultimately what it is. So let's just not forget that part. Um, thank you guys for watching or listening. Again, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow Ray on Apple and iTunes. Follow at Coach_Steve72 on Twitter and the Coach Steve Show on Twitter. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Check out all the affiliates in the description below. Check out all the other videos. There's almost something out there for everybody on this channel. So just interact, do all that stuff. Thank you guys once again, and please leave a 5-star review on Apple and iTunes. That part really helps, and really subscribe to the YouTube channel helps out a great deal. Thank you guys again, and we'll see you guys next time.